Welcome everybody to tonight's Amaterasu's Presence in-house. My name is King Koopa, casting today with SunriseSamuraii. How are you, Sunrise?
How's it going, brother?
Doing well. We got a good-looking game here today. A lot of big names in the Amaterasu's Presence Discord. It's looking to be a really good matchup. We're seeing a lot of good players in every single role, and I'm really excited to see how it goes. If you had to give me an edge on either of these teams, who do you think has it?
Right now, I'm kind of leaning towards Caster's team. Caster's been playing some big games the last few ones. My man's gonna rock it up in the. I'm gonna bring up the roster. Let's see. Caster, we have Caster as carry, Akru as support, mid Marge, Jungle J, and solo L Frost. Oh no, Frost has switched out, right? So we have Jimmy, and I've heard big things about Jimmy.
I've not gotten the pleasure to see Jimmy play yet, but you know, I really gotta stick with Chaos. As you know, Tiki Do is my boy. I put my life on the line for that man. He is, I gotta say, my favorite solo laner in this league. And some other really good names too. King Crab on his Celestial. Pandora is a well-known name, a very recent addition to the Amaterasu's presence, one of the new regulars. But as we start seeing some bands here, it's looking like some pretty usual bands. The Wukong, the Rav, the Kali. Although, Rav with his recent changes, the nerfs, and getting the shield passive rework, do you think he's still worth a top band?
No, I feel like he's much more manageable now. That shield stack is not what it used to be, especially where you're playing him too.
Yeah, you can definitely feel that. I feel like you definitely experience the nerf a lot heavier when you're playing him in solo, which is where he's been a lot more popular as of late. But
So,
I
so far, I'm
I
surprised. I thought we'd see more targeted bans for Tiki. Although his god pool is huge, that's only taking out the Sun Wukong is playing risky. That man has a mean Shiva.
His Shiva is mean indeed, and anyone that's played against it will agree. But we see the Ganesh band instead. I'd say these are pretty average bands. Ravana definitely, I think, could have been subbed out for something else, especially since Tiki is not one to play the Ravana. I'll tell you that much. And then you see Yorm as the last man for that side. So again, I just don't think Yorm is worth that much of the band. Like he's been getting hyped up so much recently, but when I see him get played, he just doesn't perform. What are your thoughts on the big snake?
So the Orm is just a super safe solo pick. He's one of those where you're just going to be able to farm your lane. You're not going to take deaths. You have that huge ult that's going to take you things out. So that was Tiki kind of putting his things on the table there of going, I'm not going to give you anything safe. He took out the Sun Wukong. He took out the Thor. He took out the Yorm. Tiki's trying to make a statement in solo lane here.
And normally he's pretty successful at getting there. And you see some pretty heavy thought thinking here for Order side, looking to what they want to top pick. This should be a pretty intense game, no matter what the comps are. I don't imagine either team is gonna lose this one real quick. I feel like it's gonna be a drawn out one. And as you see the Ratatosker locked in top, definitely one of the better picks recently. He's been super popular in solo jungle. He can kind of flex those two roles. What are your thoughts on Ratatosker currently?
Rat's pretty huge, especially when we're talking about global alts. That now we're seeing the top tier banning from the chaos side right now. They take out the Thor, they take out the Yorm, so they're setting that up for the global presence. We'll see how they respond.
Yeah, I feel like that global ultimate is pretty much he's almost just a like a downgrade from Thor. Thor is like this like always top picked or top banned, and it's like if you see Thor get banned, usually Rat is right there behind him, and he comes out of the bushes and will catch you by surprise. Notably, I think Rat is a bit harder to play in solo lane and maybe even jungle. I think Thor is more mechanics and just like hitting your stun double tap is like a lot more prevalent. But with Rat, like I think you need to position a lot better because you have less range. You have to be able to get in, hit that stun acorn, as well as your ult, not being able to do like the whole one shot blow up combo that Thor can do.
Well,
But
we called it. We got a Tiki Shiva,
I
so I don't imagine that Rat's going solo. I feel real bad for whoever's going against that. Jimmy's got his work cut out for him right now.
Oh yeah, I feel although with the Hajimon pick as the second, I feel like it could be Rat solo because notably Susano is really good at getting on Hachi and killing him, despite the fact of the big ultimate for safety. And looks like I am on my Oracle arc, and I'm just predicting the future with the Susanoo pick there, just absolutely calling it. But yeah, like I said, Susanoo with the wind siphon, or sorry, the typhoon. Nope, that's his ultimate. The jet stream. Sorry, his
Jetstream is his
three
three.
jet stream. If as long as he's able to hit the Hachimon with it, the Hachi he either has to wait it out and take a bunch of damage or die, or ult and get killed at the end of the ult anyways because of the teleport. So Susanoo is an amazing pick and a bit of a less popular pick in the Ishtar. Ishtar still relatively good. I'd say pretty middling in terms of ADCs, but definitely still very popular players wise. What are your thoughts?
We're going back to some strong season 9 picks right now of
Mm-hmm.
who's going to clear the lane better. We've got Hachi with his massive 2 dealing 200 damage at like level 3 ish with those super basic 1 Sylvanas kind of auto attacks. This is going to be a hey, who can clear this lane, and hopefully we see some good boxing after that.
Yeah, it should definitely be an exciting duo lane to watch. Both of those pretty aggressive lane characters. And we see Ao Kwong locked in by
Ooh, the Ao
Pandora.
Kwong pick.
I love to see that pick. That is a fun god to watch play. Not as fun to play against, I will say, because if you don't have beads, you are just in a permanent state of terrified when that man walks up to you, ult in hand, ready to devour you.
Yeah,
But
so far not a lot to counter it. Not a lot of CC immunity on the order side. The Rat's really the only one sitting safe from the Ao Kwong as it is. He's a great counter pick to the Susano.
it looks like both teams have decided to go the support route of bans here. Neither team having their support, I assume. Obviously, there's been some weird stuff. You see the Terra Kuzumo band and the Yumo Agni band by order side. I actually really like all of these bands. I think they're great bands all around, except maybe the Agni. I think there's better mid laners you could ban over Agni. Like
They just
I
wanted
think
to get rid of
majority.
safety, is what they're looking at right now. So far, they've got real run it down your throat comp between the Shiva, the Ao Kwong, and the Ares. They wanted to have the ability to really go at them. They didn't want somebody who could dash in and out with that much safety.
Yeah, that's a good call, but I do think that Disco is still probably a better pick for that. Just Disco is, very, very popular right now. One of the top mid lane. And we see a couple interesting gods locked in for the bottom two of order. We see the Baron Samdi and the Soul. Now, I think the Baron Samdi was a strategic counter pick because Baron Samdi is a amazing pick into Ares. He just dominates Ares. The root completely leaves Ares in the dust. The life of the party just absolutely counters Ares' entire kit almost, being able to drag him out, being able to avoid the just I think Baron is a really good pick into this team. Not even just into Ares, pretty good into stuff like Shiva and Ao Kwong. Not amazing into Bastet, but interesting picks. I think we're gonna be seeing an Ao Kwong mid, if I'm not mistaken.
That will be the spiciest of spicy. You know what? I'm actually going to turn that on you and say this has a chance of being a Bastet mid.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Bastet's really strong right now with all the recent nerfs to everybody's scaling. Bastet was one of those that went under the radar. So Bastet scales really, really well. We're gonna see some
Mhm.
early game stacking, Soul Eater, Trans. You just wait. You watch. Pandora's gonna be putting out a lot of damage on this mid Bastet. That was a really, really smart pick considering the Susan and the Baron. She has that ability to get in and out.
Yeah,
I'm really liking
definitely.
these drafts right now.
Oh yeah, I really enjoy both these. Both of these drafts are going to be very fun to watch play. I feel like it's going to be a very high octane game with these kind of drafts. Both pretty aggressive supports, pretty aggressive jungles, solos even. But yeah, across the board, this should be a very very fun game to play. And I'll ask again, if you had to give an edge to either team's draft right now, who would you have to give it to?
I think at first I gave it to the order side, but now that I'm looking at this draft, I think I'm kind of leaning chaos. I love the spiciness of the mid pick. This jungle out Kwong can do quite a lot. Order's going real risky here without taking a traditional guardian. The rat and the baron certainly can create space, but between the survivability of the Ishtar, that could bring issues as we go down the line.
Yeah, I think I'd also have to agree. I like the Chaos side a lot better, but at the end of the day, I think this game is going to come down to whose engage is better because both of these teams want to engage the enemy and not get engaged on. Outside of maybe Baron, Baron's a little less divey, but when you have stuff like Susanoo, Ratatosk, or Soul and Ishtar, like those characters want to get into the fight. They don't want the fight to come to them. They want to move in. But then you look at Chaos side and it's like Shiva, Hachi, Bastet, Ares, Alquang. Those are all characters that I can see running into a fight. Like Shiva blinking in on the backliners and getting huge knockups. Bastet with the leap, Ares the blink ult, Al Kwong, he does Al Kwong things, just getting in there, damaging, getting the execute, and going right back in again. And even Hachi, the ADC that you don't normally see running into fights, often you see him use his ultimate to just get into the fight, do a bunch of damage, and then burn the rest of them down with auto attacks.
I think we're looking at a straight W key on W key comp right now, and I love it.
Yeah, these are definitely the best kinds of games, the ones I love to cast the most because there'll be a ton of action and it'll be nonstop fun watching them their heads against each other until one of them bleeds out. But yeah,
I think the real point of contention here is going to be the neutral objectives of who's able to own those left and right heartbeats, who's able to get that mid advantage as quick as possible. Soul is your typical, hey, I'm going to take your bastions and have your tower at 6 minutes if you let me. So it's going to be really incumbent on this early game Ao Kuang to try and slow her down.
I think the early game is probably going to go to the order side just because of the Ao Kuang. And you also have stuff like Shiva, and I mean Shiva does really well in lane, but he really puts it in the work when you get into those late game team fights and you're able to use the Shiva Tandava to just absolutely put out damage and or healing, whichever your team does need. But yeah, and then like Soul has a really good early game. Rat's early game is amazing because those early rotations with the through the trees. But yeah, I think the early game should obviously, barring player intervention, one team making a mistake or one team making amazing plays, I think it should go the side of order. Except maybe in the duo lane, I think the Ares Hachi should be able to win that early. Ishtar's clear is still really good. I don't think it's as good. It's obviously not as good as it once was because of about 3 or 4 nerfs in a row to the bonus damage on, like you were saying earlier, the Sylvanas-esque autos that she has. And yeah, Baron definitely not what you want to see out of a early pressure support. His clear is pretty mediocre. He doesn't have that great poke or CC. So I think the early game in duo will definitely go to Chaos, but I think everywhere else is probably going to be order, and we might see Chaos side choose to play around the duo side early more just to get that early pressure and maybe play for some Gold Furies.
Yeah, since the recent changes to Ares' 3 is can full clear all 3 jungle camps and have them in lane as quick as possible. This early game is going to be pretty rough for the duo side on the order.
Yeah, I am really confused about why they buffed him at all. I think he was a fine god. He's definitely more of a counter picky kind of god, but I feel like that's what he should be. You bottom pick him to counter some really mobile characters like your Circuits or Susanos and characters without CC immunity, obviously, because of the ult. But yeah, they buffed him, and now his shackles is 11-second cooldown, and it's one of the most insane abilities in the game. One of the abilities that can do half your health bar at level 1, and also completely stop you from moving with a massive slow and a cripple.
So I
All
stand
right.
corrected here. It's actually going to be a Ishtar mid soul carry. So
Oh,
that changes things up a lot. Now
yeah,
I kind
definitely
of I
changes
kind of give
things.
order a little bit more credence there, where they have the ability to kind of bounce back in duo lane a bit. Soul, like I
Yeah,
said, Soul is one of those. Hey, I'm gonna be on your tower line for the first 3 minutes.
yeah. Now as we're going into the game, we're gonna start to get to see the action that we've all been waiting for. But yeah, I think with the Soul being in the duo lane, I think it almost swaps them. I think the Chaos mid is now going to have a bit of an advantage with Ishtar, Hunters being not very good, not as good early as mages normally. So I think the mid lane for Chaos should go a bit better now, but that also means the duo lane for Chaos is going to be a little bit worse. You see him walking into lane. Both teams getting her in lane about the same exact time. The level order gets to get hit level 2 first, and Chaos hasn't hit level 2 yet. The fire from Ares comes out, but he's taking a lot of damage. No movement abilities. The shell comes out. He's 1 HP. Just being able to survive. Really well played from order side here, getting that early pressure with the clear and getting a lot of damage on that Ares, sticking around for too long. As we cut to mid here, it looks like order side's actually taking most of the pressure. Dento on the Alquang put down to half HP, and Pandora taking her fair share of poke too. JSwerve playing for the leap. But
that
as we're
switch
looking
to
at
Ishtar was a very smart. Ooh,
and
first blood.
Very early first blood for the duo lane. Malcaster just putting out that soul damage, and then in the solo lane, my man Tiki dropping the solo on the Ratatosker. Just like we were predicting, this is gonna be a high octane game. 2 kills in the first minute and a half. I mean, I was gonna talk about builds, but there's really no time. And now that it seems like we've gotten some of the kills out of it, is there anything interesting you're seeing about these builds? Anything that you might?
So the one that's kind of catching me off the most right now is the soul build. Typically right now you're seeing this like very heavy magic power with the band cross converting things. Ooh, and Pandora picks up kill in the mid lane, and are they going to be able to get Ishtar? Nope, Ishtar's able to make it out with a swift dash.
Just barely getting out there, and yeah, I mean, JSwerve getting taken out is not what you want to see. This early game for Pandora's team or Chaos is safely to go pretty well. 2 kills in mid, and almost exactly as we predicted. Actually, winning in solo, winning in mid without the soul, and now losing ADC. So, I mean, I guess my predictions are really on point today. So. But yeah,
I want to see this Susan be able to bounce back. Hopefully, he's going that trans, so he's unfortunately putting himself on the back foot, but he needs to be able to start controlling these neutral objectives. We see the Alquang going to invade on the blue. Hopefully, Susan can thwart this off.
Susanoo, despite dying, does have a 1-level lead and also a tier 2 item over the Alquang, but it is Alquang, and Alquang does a lot of damage. Shiva blinking in, but getting body blocked by the blue buff. As Pandora rotates his blue as well, but Order is able to take it back. Dento almost dying. Oh, but JSwerve almost dying as well. Almost a jungler for jungler. Tiki still running at Jimmyo here on the Ratatosker. Ratatosker's stepping back up. I can't say I'd advise this. And Pandora is gonna put a lot of damage on him with the Razor Whip there, but. Yeah, unfortunate
I love
for
to see that
Chaos
from Jimmy. Jimmy's trying to set a tone. Don't come to my lane. They were able to take blue and stay alive. That's a big tone setter right there for the order side.
Yeah, that definitely did not go how Chaos wanted to. And it looks like also Ishtar tried to go for the steal on the red, but wasn't brave enough to stick around for that long, expecting the rotations from the solo or Pandora coming back.
No, it was smart. Pandora was coming back up. He was able to get out in time. Jimmy just barely escaping with it through the trees.
Yeah, forced to ult there away from Tiki. Tiki just absolutely running solo. He just holding down the fort, and we'll probably see that continue for most of this early game. Well, I gotta say,
Tiki was able to go Chalice and only Bluestone, so he hasn't even started his item yet, and he's already having that much pressure in the solo lane. This is only gonna get much worse for Jimmy.
I mean, notably for Ratatosker, though, he did start with Bluestone and the earring, the mystical earring, so not much more pressure from him either, only a little extra MP5. And that is a bit of an interesting start, I think. I think more often than not, you do want to go into that Acorn, but apparently he was assuming his blues were going to be invaded, opting for a little bit more MP5, and the duo lane's definitely not going any more in favor of Chaos as Malcaster gets the Tuckeyes ring online, but there's 4 people here in the duo. Little Cuba sacrifices himself for the ult. Pandora hits the Bastet ultimate onto Scream and gets the kill. Malcaster getting dropped really low here. The bead's forced out. The Alquang's gonna go in, and he's just gonna get the kill. But now Susanoo's here to clean back up. Hits the ultimate on 2. Gets the killing key. Crab hand on Dento with the 2 return kills. This game is already just turning out to be a slugfest. Just kills back and forth, and it seems like Order is coming out on top here with almost a 2K lead already.
Susan needed that real big. Look, as I said, look at that T1 on Chaos side. Soul already got her Bastion. Soul's already pushing that pressure. Now they're going to be able to bounce back off of that. They don't mind a support Baron kill there for a turnaround 2 kills. Big pressure. That's probably a finished trans on Susan since he's backing with full health. Yep, there you
Oh
go.
yeah.
Now he starts stacking. Now this is leaning in his favor. The Ao Kuang pick for the Book of Thoth, pretty odd one, because he could have had this early game in his pocket, but he's going for the stack. He's trying to take this to late game.
I mean, when you're playing, Ao Kuang is one of those gods that is a very notable late game powerhouse. His early game is okay. It's not the worst, but it's also not great. I've actually been experimenting with the Book of Thoth Ao Kuang, and it feels pretty good because once you get it stacked, you're never running out of mana again, and you also just do a lot of damage. And that early flat pen and mana, it just makes your once you get it stacked.
Ooh, through the heavens,
cut
couldn't get off. Tiki
cut
takes
my
another
thought
one.
as Tiki just solos Jimio again, just a solo trench so far, and will unfortunately the blue buff already gone, so Tiki can't get much more for his efforts as he retreats to the comfort of his own blue buff. Every solo laner's comfort place is little cave blue buff, just the
Well,
perfect place for them to be.
I was wondering where Ao Kuang was going to get those stacks from. It appears he's going to get them from Rat's blue buff.
Yep, Rat or Shiva's blue buff, either or, and he's going to be doing the speed and red buff at the same time. Little Cuba with the ult, the Typhoon comes through, the pull just absolutely melting that Ares, and that's what I'm saying.
Beautiful counter Baron ult there.
Yeah,
You're going to see that all game. Every time
oh
Ares
yeah,
wants to ult, he's just going to get sucked in the second that timer runs out.
yeah. And if we look
Ooh,
at
an
the
early Gold Fury call from the order side.
looks like they're gonna be able to burn it. I mean, Malcaster with the Gilded Arrow,
It's looking close. Zento can't hear it. Ooh, an order
Yeah.
takes an early Gold Fury.
They do lose Scream for it, but I mean, the support for a Gold Fury, that's a trait as old as time, and especially when it's a Gold Fury at 7 minutes and your support is barely worth anything. I mean, that's definitely a worth trade in my book.
So far, Scream has the balance on the scales. Every time he takes a death, order comes out really big on the other side. He doesn't mind taking one or two if they're getting double kills and Gold Furies.
Yeah,
I'm
and
loving
that's
that. I was very skeptical of this Baron support, and so far I'm loving seeing what it's coming from.
that is the dichotomy of support as we look at him, trading his life for some things, and it looks like Lil Cuba not having his best game, died 4 times already. And I gotta say, I think Prophetic Cloak is probably not what you want to see on Ares. What are your thoughts on that?
Unfortunately, if you're already sitting at 4 deaths, you're looking at a rough time stacking that. He's not going to get the benefit for his passive until it's actually stacked up, because he's not getting that full aura proc yet. So he's not getting the bonus power. He's sitting at 2 stacks at 8 minutes, while Baron's already at 9. This is going to be a rough one for Cuba to get out of that.
Diki on the solo invade the blue buff, getting punished by the Susanoo, using the Shiva Tandava. Is he gonna live? Just barely. He's hanging on to life. He gets the knockup, but Jaceberry beats, and the whole squad pulls up to save Tiki. The Baron gold comes out, and Tiki's forced to tank it. None of his teammates ate the Baron ult, so he has to die for it. Tiki must be fuming at his team right now. But, I mean, 2 kills and a blue buff, and it looks like there's going to be a 3rd kill. If anyone wants a hidden ability on this Baron, dude, finally taken down. Baron's already looking pretty tanky with the 11 stacks on Prophetic, yeah, and just now getting a full Thieves online. I mean, this Baron's pretty huge, and he's pulling up and doing a lot of work in fights.
I am so impressed by this Baron play right now. Like we said, we keep watching him trade. That man is trading up every single time. They just got a mid tower. He was able to shut down Tiki at 4-0. He gives some global ult to everybody, global gold due to that change in this last patch. So his team's sitting pretty good right now. We're looking at the gold where Order Side has a 3k gold lead, even despite being down 3 kills.
Yeah, it is actually crazy. I mean, the plays from this Baron have not gone, unrewarded. This Baron's facilitating a lot of the fights and a lot of the objectives for this team. King Crab gonna get caught out of mid lane rotation from Yotsuyu, and he's just not gonna be able to keep up with 2 full ADCs when he's only one of his little lonesome.
I think Order Side has a pretty clear strat right now of, hey Rat, good luck, we'll see you at 15 minutes. Until then, we're going to run the rest of this map.
Yeah, and the Baron going for the solo invade on the green buff looks like he's feeling himself just like we've been talking him up, just running it in as Lil Cuba, looks like we're going to have a little support 1v1, but as Susanoo pulls up, is it not going to be a 1v1 much longer?
That slap fight ain't lasting too long. Susan's coming to back him up, and nobody on the Chaos side seems to be supporting Cuba right now. Cuba might be digging his own grave as we go. Cuba was just trying to pull out those prophetic stacks, but Remember when we counted it before? It was sitting 2-9. Now we're sitting 15-6 in that little prophetic mini game. Ares is taking a pretty hard L right now.
Ooh,
Through
and
the trees
Pandora
to save himself
just
from the Pandora rotation.
yeah.
But Ao Kwang is still creeping around in that right side jungle. Blue buff is almost up. I don't think Rat's going to be able to contest this. But we do have a response from 3 people from his team.
Yeah, it's gonna look like it's a 4v3 here as Lil Cuba a bit on the back foot. The blue buff gonna go the way of Chaos, but the Typhoon comes out. Dento is in really big trouble. Gets stunned by the Baron ult. Melted. Chaos side still looking for the fight here. A massive Ares ult, both Jimio and Scream. A massive knockup from Tiki-Do. This is going pretty well for Chaos, but they're just outnumbered right now, and they're gonna be forced to back out. Baron's still looking for some poke, getting those massive heals for his team. Looks like they're continuing their crusade onto the solo lane, and they're 4 strong and right, and maybe looking to take this tier 1 tower, get the bastions. They're gonna get Tiki, they're gonna get Wave, but Pandora still hovering on the left, looking for the opportunity to go in. Looks like they're coming to her. The ensnaring claw comes out, but a big pull from the Susanoo. Not going to keep chasing for the kill, but Pandora's going to live on 1 HP from the Baron, but Yotsuyu comes around and is able to kill her with the help of the blue buff. Jimio gets out on 1 HP. Swervy at half HP. Order side, all in all, is pretty low right now as Tiki blinks in with 2 huge knockups and goes into Shiva Tandava, doing massive damage. He's going to continue to chase down Swervy. The dash comes out, and he's going to be fighting the Frostbound proc. Is doing absolute work as Swervy gets taken out. And now Scream is the one in trouble, stuck with quarter health and no mana and a dream. But it looks like Tiki's Frostbound proc is back up, and the cooldowns are also coming up. But the massive heal that Scream got just saved his life, and that was a long fight. Jeez.
A little too greedy from the Order side. Once they get that Pandora kill, that was huge for them. They needed to just walk away. They tried to stick around. They tried to take the low out Tiki. Tiki said, "I am 5-1. Who do you think you're messing with?"
Yeah, and look at the player damage numbers. It's just everybody has pretty average numbers, and then Tiki with the 15k in 12 minutes. Just going absolutely massive in these fights, doing every goddamn thing he can. But yeah, I mean, because of the Order's decision to stay around a little too long, Beacon went the way of Chaos, and Scream still playing as aggro as ever, looking for those green buffs all by his lonesome. And I mean, definitely Scream's been in a spot right now where he can definitely get caught out. He has no team near him, and he's gonna look to 1v1 King Crab. Looks like King Crab getting a little scared that there might be a rotation, running away from
I love to see the
2-level
confidence.
under support.
As I always preach, he's setting a tone. He's making sure everybody on on Chaos side knows that he's on this map and he could be anywhere. You see very little wardage from the Chaos side right now, and Scream's trying to make him pay for it.
Oh yeah, and as we start to get into a slower part of the game, as never mind, the Pyromancers still getting absolutely shredded by Order, going to go down for free, no contestation from Chaos. As now we should be getting slower part of the game, I'd like to talk a bit more about the builds. I mean, some interesting builds across the board here. I mean, the Poly on Soul. I mean, the Shiva build is pretty interesting, one I've been seeing more recently. Like, what do you think about some of these?
I am loving the Shiva build. Again, we're talking about Tiki having this large presence in this game. He is the Phalanx, the Frostbound. Tiki's just trying to be this, hey, I'm going to be as in your face as possible in these fights. And so far, I haven't seen anything from the Order side to respond to that. Right now, there's 3-man ganking him. He's just going to ult, walk away. Ult, walk away. Right now, this Baron ult is going to be all for naught. We're going to see a Susan ult wasted. Hasn't even taken out half his health. So far, Tiki is really setting a tone.
The Rat ult comes back in and using the Typhoon and the life of the party, not able to really get much. The Ares ult could go big here as he does look for it. The Baron not going to be able to escape it. And neither does Yotsuyu as they're pulled under tower. Jimio taking the tower shots, fortunately for his team. And yeah, I mean, that was well played by Chaos, but they just weren't able to get anything. And it looks like Order is going to be playing for the tower here. Tiki blinking in with a massive 2 knockups, doing huge damage. And looks like Jimio's going to go down. Scream is an execute as well. Now it looks like Order is going to have to back out. That was a massive play from Tiki.
And all along, Hachiman on that left side, taking a tower. He's going to clean up their entire camp. Chaos is kind of tilting the scales really hard right now back towards that gold. You can see Order side still has a 3k gold lead, but it's not amounting to much when Tiki is the one sitting with most of that gold in his pocket anyways.
Oh yeah, Tiki is just absolutely massive right now. But the cat almost taking out the Scream there, all on its lonesome. But fortunately, Jay Swervy was there to peel the cat off of him. Very, very good. Very well played from Jay Swervy to save his support. I mean, Pandora looking for a little bit of an invade, but kind of it seems like she got pushed out by the Susanoo, not really able to die with two people there. And if the player damage number, the gap just keeps increasing. I mean, Tiki's now at 20k in 15 minutes, and the next closest is 10k. Like, the damage numbers are just absolutely wild right now. And I mean, if you just looked at the damage numbers, Order seems to be a little bit on the back foot just because of Tiki. But I mean, if you look at the gold numbers, Order still has a pretty convincing lead.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think this 0-5 is a fair reflection to this rat. I don't know if you saw in the middle of that team fight when Baron was going to be able to be pulled in through the Ares ult. Rat took one for the team and dashed in to make sure that he was taking the procs from it. I think Jimmy's putting on a good performance. He unfortunately is just sitting across from one of the better solo laners in the league.
Oh yeah, and playing one of his better characters, Lil Cuba gets caught out and just destroyed. But Scream gets pulled by the Bastet ult. Not much going to come of that. It seems like Order's going to opt in for the Gold Fury here, or believe it is. No, it is Gold Fury, but yeah, I mean, looks like Order just keeps being able to catch Lil Cuba out of position. Seems like he needs to be a little bit less aggressive when his team's on the back foot. He keeps getting caught out by that Baron, and like I said before, the Baron just kind of hard counters him. Jimmy on a bit of danger, but using the ult to get out of it, just barely hanging on from the tick damage. Beacon coming up soon.
A lot of what is putting Order behind right now is resulting from these Ares kills. Ooh, Hachiman standing his ground in a 2v1, and he's able to take out Jimmy.
In a pretty shitty situation, but he's still able to get kills, and the Alcorn comes in to follow up. Bit of a weird shell from Cuba coming out, but yeah, I mean, King Crab just standing his own there, and literally a 4v1, being able to take a kill and hold on long enough for his team to help him. So Yotsuyu getting pretty low, but forces out Dento's beads with the Blades of Retribution. And now, I mean, Chaos is 5 strong in mid. They're looking to play Pyro, I imagine, and probably go for Beacon next. Oh, wait a minute.
They're stacking up. Are they going to go for big?
Looks like Big Fire might be the call for Chaos, but nope, they turn around and go right back to the Pyromancer. And but Order playing it pretty smart, and they're forcing them to give up the Beacon for it. Looks like it's going to go before anyone's able to get there. Yep. But now Pandora's here. Are they going to be able to pick up these kills for those that were greeting on the Beacon? Oh, no kills able to come out.
5 ults up. They got a lot of pressure right now. I want to see more of these big Ares ults to come through. They're burning a lot of beads. They're burning a lot of ults to get these petty kills. Chaos side is putting themselves pretty vulnerable to these Ares ults if this Ares steps up and starts figuring things out.
Yeah, unfortunately, he opted for Ankh and Shell over a Blink, and I feel like you kind of need Blink on that character to be able to engage with those ults. But I mean, I guess when you're losing this hard on the Ares pick, when you're dying that often, you might want something to help out and help you survive a little bit longer.
Yeah, he's going for the safer play. I would have rather have seen the more in their face play. At this point, you're already behind. It is what it is. You're the support. The rest of your team is really shining. But he goes for the curse. He goes for the shell. He's trying to do what he can to protect that backline a little more. Tiki seems like he's got the front line covered right now.
Yeah, the Ankh is definitely not a bad pickup either. It does pretty well into their team. I mean, Jimmy's got some healing. Jay Swervy will probably have some lifesteal. Obviously, Yotsuyu and Mountcaster are going to have lifesteal. And Scream doing a pretty large amount of healing himself. You know, even opting for the Lotus Sigil, pretty popular nowadays.
Right now, I want to point out the level advantage. We've got a solo jungle level advantage for the Chaos side, but mid is holding strong right now for the Order side.
Scream getting a little bit caught out, but the Typhoon is going to heal. Lil Cuba going to use his ult to force out Scream's ult, and neither's going to get much. The Through the Trees comes out, a bit of a wasted ult by Jimmy-O. So now, I mean, for ult economy, Chaos is looking pretty good. 3 massive ults for Order are down, and 4 massive ults for Chaos is still up, and it looks like they're going to capitalize on that opportunity to pull the fire here. I mean, Order is still here 4 strong. They see the soul in left lane. I guess they assume they can win this fight. And it looks the Bastet ult's just going to miss Scream there. It looks like they're going to go for the fire. They're going to try for the 50-50. They do lose their left Phoenix. And Yotsuyu's team steals the fire. That is just absolute disaster for Chaos. And they're going to go in for the fight. The Cursed Ankh comes out. Tiki going huge with some knockups. Lil Cuba getting pulled. The shell comes out from Cuba. Tiki still going in, putting the work in on Jimmyo as he gets chained. It looks like Jimmyo, using the beads.
A very smart dash out with the beads.
That was great. I mean, that is absolutely not what you want to see if you're Chaos side. They lost their left Phoenix, they lost the Fire Giant, and they don't even get kills. And in turn, they're gonna lose
and
little
Scream
Cuba
turns on
again.
Cuba.
This is just terrible. Like, if you're Chaos right now, you have to be feeling really bad about that.
I think so much credit deserves to go to Jimmy here. They poured 4 into on him. He was able to stay alive. That 0-6 is not a fair reflection of what that man is contributing to the game
it looks
right
like
now.
the fight is continuing. There's a lot of ults come out. The Shivatadava, King Crab putting in as much damage as he can, but the sustain from this team is just too much as Tiki takes his first death of the game to this 4-man rotation, and it looks like another Phoenix up on the menu for Order side as they right in. Just wow. Some crazy team fights right now. I mean, Order side is just absolutely dominating. And then little Cuba looks like he's
not going to come in time. This is going to be a free bird.
Yep, the bird goes down.
Cuba with a 3-man ult.
Massive ult through the trees, drops down on him though, and he's getting poked out once again and probably going to fall to Mount Castor this time. Little Cuba just keeps stepping up a little too far, getting pulled out. I mean, he's level 14. He doesn't even have enough to get his starter yet. Very unfortunate gameplay from him so far with the 1, 7, and 6. Not much in the way of kill potential. A lot, unfortunately. And now Order with 3 birds down. They're gonna ransack Chaos side jungle and take the Oni Fury. And with this Oni Fury, they're gonna be able to go up. They're gonna get probably the bomb from the Pyromancer, and then they're gonna be playing for an end. If they get a pick on Cuba again, they might just be able to end the game there.
For a vast majority of this game, we were looking at only a 3k gold lead on the Order side from playing really smart, safe farming tools. Now we're looking at a 11k gold lead. This swung so hard with a great Fire Giant steal.
Yeah, I mean, with that Fire Giant steal, they got the left bird, they got a bunch of turnaround kills, and then they got the right bird, and then they killed Cuba, and then they got the mid bird, and now they get Oni Fury, Pyromancer, and they got Oni Fire Waves in every single lane at 22 minutes. This went from like being a pretty one-sided game to being an absolute stomp for Order side.
Yeah, and unfortunately, as we look towards their defense, I'm not seeing a lot of strength from the defense on the Chaos side here. Without that traditional damage mage to kind of hold people back, this is going to be a rough one. Even as the Oni waves pour in, they're just going to get the Stygian, wait for the Titan reset, and just run this down on them. Jimmy going for a solo fight on Tiki. He says that 0-6 doesn't mean anything. I'm taking you. Hao Kwang has to come in and spoil it. Jimmy's going to go through the cosmos, not through the trees. Sorry, I called that wrong. And get out of there.
Yep. Unfortunately, you're not gonna get too much 1v1s in this economy. With all the rotations, especially from the Ratatosk or Alquang, Bastet, characters that are pretty fast, able to get around the map, you're just not gonna be seeing too many 1v1s at this point. But yeah, I do have to agree with you. The siege defense from Chaos is definitely not what you want to see. And Chaos's team is the kind of team where if you're playing from behind, you're going to be struggling, like to a very insane degree, just because you have to, for that team to work, you have to be able to engage on them to be able to put out your damage. But when you're that far behind, engaging is just not an option. You're just going to get burned and die immediately as the left bird comes up and goes immediately back down. Dento does get a pick on a Jay Swervy here, and the fight starts out strong for Chaos. A massive heal comes from Scream, but little Cuba going to get caught out once again. Jimmyo getting rooted, King Crab getting poked out, forced to bees, and dies in the fountain to Yotsuyu. Tiki gets the Orb pulsed out, it's 4v3, Dento gets absolutely melted and burned. Pandora trying her best to peel for that team, but Pandora is also just gonna make it into the fountain. Yotsuyu going for the ego kill in the fountain. Pandora putting some fight back, and it looks like Yotsuyu might fall to the Razor Whip, just barely able to live with some of the lifesteal. Dashing back in, it is bold from Yotsuyu. Yotsuyu absolutely trolling Chaos side right now with the dash into the fountain into double spam taunt.
Well, we're looking at a typical Season X troll right now where Order side was ready to run this down, kill a Titan. Titan's all the way in Soul Lane at the T2. They had to run back and collect this. Let's see whatever they're able to do. Chaos has one more chance here with this reset to see what they're able to pull back on this. No Yotsuyu. Hopefully they can get a pick or two.
Pandora caught a bit far forward, but able to get out with that handy Bastet jump. A little classic, very safe character, but it looks like right bird is going to have the same fate as the left bird. Come up and come right back down with the power of the soul autos. Literally the power of the sun in the palm of her hand, just ripping through those birds. Pandora being a little bit aggressive, trying to take some of the initiative here. Maybe not let them just run at this mid bird for free, but Chaos has their hands a bit full with the Titan in right side, and the mid bird's going to go right back down. Order getting pretty aggressive. They're trying to play up for the Titan here, but it looks like they're going to drop back and play for some objectives. You know, we have everything coming up. Fire Giant's up, Primal's going to be coming up, and right after that, we'll see the Pyromancer come up. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think this is a very smart call for Order side. You know, instead of running it in and potentially throwing the entire game on a risky end call, they're going to fall back and play the safe objectives.
We got to give a lot of credit to the Order side's backline right now. They were sitting 10k damage behind Tiki. Now look at those player damage. They were able to even things up pretty nicely.
Yeah, if you remember, I was saying Tiki had 20k at 15 minutes, and now only 5k ahead at 26. Speaking of Tiki, he just gets absolutely ripped to shreds by the entire Order side team. Dento and Pandora caught a little bit behind, and it's King Crab all on his own, trying to horse his way out, but it's just not enough. And now you have two people stuck here to defend two very close range gods, Bastet and Outcalling, not what you want to see for a siege defense. As
now Casts are looking a little low on health. Hopefully they can get a dive and make something happen. But, nope. Dento is just going to fall. Pandora's going to say, I'm going to preserve my KDA
Pandora playing for the KD as you know, with these in-houses, the MMR is gold, and that KD is worth some MMR. So Pandora giving it up for the MMR, and I mean, Orticide with a convincing victory there, just after one really big play, able to run the game top to bottom.
Super exciting play. Looked like at a certain point there that Chaos was going to be able to hang in this, but in the end of the day, the back line of Order was able to come through.
Yep, and if we can see the stat spread here, just I mean, you look at Chaos side and the damage you have, it's like Tiki's really the only one shining, and then you look at Order side and it's like you got the Rat, you got Ishtar. I mean, even Scream putting out 16k all by himself as the support Baron. Not
I'd
much
say
less
easily
than
my MVP of the game goes to Scream.
I think MVP of this game, Scream made some absolutely brilliant plays there earlier, sacrificing himself for objectives, for kills, for pressure, for everything. He was putting himself on the line. Solo invading green buff like 4 times in a row was crazy. Just an absolutely really fun game to watch, really fun game to cast. I've been King Koopa. This has been SunriseSamuraii, and in the Amaterasu's Presence in-house ranked League Immortal ladder. And we're going to cut to break, and we'll see you in the next game.